All righty. I think we got Marge, Lindsay as well, don't we?
Yeah, well, let me hit the unmute button.
We're gonna unmute them. That's dangerous, unmuting Marge in any scenario.
Yeah, everybody's
Mike, you're in trouble. You better be good.
All right, Marge, appreciate you joining us. And you have once again done a fantastic job getting us some of the best guests in the industry to help us navigate COVID-19. So how about I let you introduce them and explain to us who they are, even though I know who they are.
No, it's with absolute pleasure that I do that. We have Michelle Lind, who is the CEO for the Arizona Realtors and has been for a good number of years, our CEO. And honestly, goodness, as proud as I've been of being a member of this association for decades, and Mike, you be quiet, but as proud as I've been, never more than right now. They have, under Michelle's leadership, have really taken us above and beyond. And one of our newer members of the Arizona Realtors is Matt Contorelli. And Matt is the director of our government affairs. And I know that the two of them have been working hand in glove with Scott Drucker, our general counsel, and with Tom Farley, who is a paid lobbyist who works with the Arizona Association. And my gosh, they've been working with state issues and with Governor Ducey, as well as the National Association, to try and give us the latest and greatest and keep us up to date. And we've seen lots of emails and information, Michelle, that's come from you and your staff. And, you know, with that, she sent over, Mike, you know, some information that she and Matt are very happy to talk about, which I see you're putting up here. So I would just love to say, Michelle, why don't you start with this, and thank you from the bottom of our hearts. West USA is very proud to have the two of you here.
Thank you very much, Marge. Matt and I are really excited to be here and have the opportunity to talk to the West USA agents. Obviously, you know, based on anyone that's watched the news, you can see things have been happening fast and furious, and they've been happening fast and furious both in the market, in the way we do our transactions, and of course in our health. So we've had 4 executive orders from our governor this month. And we've also had federal legislation, the CARES Act, which was about 800 pages and $2 trillion of COVID assistance package. Over the weekend, we got additional emergency funds. So things are continuing to go very rapidly. When I look at the COVID issues for our members, I kind of break it down into essentially three sections. The first section being transactional considerations. What are we doing with our clients, and what guidance can we provide in transactions? The second being economic impact, and what larger state and federal programs are available for our members and our clients. And then the third are just some resources and what you might do with if you have any spare time while we're all home in quarantine.
Yeah,
So
no one has any spare time.
Go ahead. Did someone ask me a question?
No, that was me. I was just saying nobody has any spare time. We're you know, we're all out and about hitting the pavement. So
Yeah.
so let's start off with, I like this executive order. Yeah, I guess we're essential, but then I'm looking at the streets. It looks like everybody's essential. What does that mean for us, and what are our rights and what are our responsibilities as realtors?
Well, first of all, I just kudos to Matt Contorelli, who was and has been in constant contact with the governor's office. And he was the one to make sure that real estate agents, real estate activities overall were included in the essential service category. So on the 30th, the governor did issue, well, he did a stay at home, but previously he did his executive order, which designated real estate as essential services. What that means is it means that legally realtors can still conduct their business, can still accept new listings, open houses, schedule and attend home inspections, show home to potential buyers, present offers, and perform all the other activities, including all the related activities from our affiliates that need to happen to close a transaction. But what I want to emphasize is that although we do have all those legal rights, that there does need to be a change in the practice on the way that our members handle those activities, because first of all, for the health and safety of themselves and for the members, but also we have to be concerned about optics, right? How we are looking and what we present realtors in the best possible light during this time of crisis. And Matt, I don't know if you have anything else to say about the essential services, but I will pitch it over to you to add your perspective.
Thanks, Michelle. One thing worth noting in Governor Ducey's executive order that it set a preemption to supersede any actions taken at the local level to protect us against kind of any conflicting political opinions we might have, making sure that our cities and towns don't set additional orders that preclude real estate services from having continuity of work. I really, stressed that, how do you have a shelter in place order or a stay at home order for those folks that are in transition of living somewhere? We are providing folks with shelter at this time. We are conducting business that is critical to making sure that people have a place to go and call home. So that preemption was very helpful from the governor's office. They were really understanding of all the intricacies of our work and making sure that aside from our affiliates, also the government functions that are essential, like the county recorder's office, making sure that they have the ability, that they are considered essential. All of them have transitioned into different schedules, but have e-recording and other capabilities to make sure that we can still, complete our work. So,
well, I just wanted to state, I think this is great because I think a lot of us as real estate agents, we just think AAR as the organization that puts together our contracts and paperwork. You guys are doing a lot of work to represent us and to have our back. So we definitely appreciate that. But what should we be telling buyers and sellers who are considering right now? What's AAR's standpoint on that?
Well, I can tell you that the one thing that we did, and you can get it on our webpage, is a flyer that you can use with your clients. Arizona Realtors ready to assist buyers and sellers and taking extra precautions during the pandemic. What this flyer does is introduce, obviously, the concept, and it will help you have a discussion with your buyers and sellers about what precautions that we have and you're in place to protect everyone's health and safety, and also emphasizes the technology that the Arizona Realtors provides to allow them to complete their home purchase safely and effectively. So I think that in talking to our buyers and sellers, I would recommend that you use the flyer. It gives a little information about those issues, and then in talking to them about the transactions is to start managing their expectations. You heard from your mortgage lender, there is some tightening in the financial market, so to talk about time frames, home inspection. Inspectors may be limiting, access to the home, asking for access without additional, obviously, people there, and to talk about title and escrow professionals that are doing more mobile signings of documents and limiting face-to-face appointments where necessary. So giving them, your clients, the information that you are not only aware of the crisis, but we have procedures and precautions in place to allow them to go through this process and the transaction in the safest manner possible.
All right, guys, I want to talk about open houses. Is there a recommendation from AAR? Is there any talk or discussion of eliminating open houses, not allowing agents to do open houses moving forward or in the near future? Because I'm still seeing a lot of open houses. And what's your guys' thoughts and recommendations on that?
Right, we did. We have talked about open houses, and there is no prohibition against open houses. But if you go to AAR online, we have a great COVID page that has a lot of information on it. And in that COVID page, we do have information on 10 open houses precautions. Things that people are doing in regard to the open houses is obviously making sure that, for example, that no one in the seller's home has been exposed, has been ill, that the agents work together along with the seller to wipe down surfaces, to open doors and turn on lights. To talk to the buyers about not touching as few objects as possible. And then if you've got a obviously really popular property, that you limit the number of buyers one at a time, one group at a time, and limit that to just the decision makers, not the entire family, to come through and do those open houses. Again, I think this is critically important because of, again, the optics. We don't want the perception out there that realtors are putting people in harm's way. And again, Matt, your perspective in regards to the political implications in regards to open houses and those sort of the gatherings.
Yeah, I think you really hit a lot of the sensitive points that we need to send a message with how we conduct our business and govern ourselves. Like we've avoided a prohibition, but a lot of members have stopped doing open houses, or kind of what Michelle alluded to, following some of our recommendations and guidelines and transitioning to a safer open house kind of model at this time, and just want to be respectful, want to take every precaution possible, so it sends a clear message that we're doing our part and keeping the public safe.
If I may, Mike, I'd like to ask Michelle and or Matt, one of the questions that many of our agents have asked me is, if I do hold an open house, and if that seller or some family member later becomes sick and has, this coronavirus, do I, as the realtor who conducted the open house, have any potential liability for having exposed them to something this serious? Are there some legal ramifications? And honestly, the only answer I've been able to give them at this point is, I don't know. I mean, this is unprecedented. I don't know if somebody would take it that far, but have you any thoughts that way?
Well, I'll give you my perspective. I mean, you're absolutely right. These are unprecedented times, and there is no legal precedent to to fall back on. But here are my thoughts. First of all, everybody knows that this is not an unknown risk, right? People are entitled to take a risk as long as, and as long as they're doing it knowingly, people are entitled to take the risk. If somebody if the agent knows that there is a potential risk there with someone that has been exposed or been ill, there may be some potential claim. I mean, a plaintiff's attorney is good at coming up with claims regardless, so that's a possibility. But if there's no information, nobody has any red flags that is a possibility, I think that the liability is relatively low. We do have also, that's going to be coming out in your email, your Realtor Voice on Tuesday, that you might, what your agents, obviously your broker and managers, to take a look at and see if it's worth considering. This is not an official AAR form, but we have come up with what's known as a model COVID certification for property access form. And what that does, what this form does, is identify the properties and have people certify that they haven't experienced any flu-like symptoms in the last 15 days. They're not currently diagnosed with COVID-19 or tested positive. They haven't had contact in the previous 14 days with anyone that's diagnosed, and then they haven't traveled in the last 14 days in any level 3 health global pandemic areas. So that is one potential document that you can take a look at, that we're making available. Again, it's not an official AAR form, it's just a tool that we're making available to members once they talk to the brokers and managers to see if it's something that they want to use that may decrease any lingering liability in that regard.
You know, again, I thank you. And that's an example of what Mike was talking about when he said, you guys have our back. And you're always looking forward to things like this. And, you know, I know we appreciate having something like that we can use, you know, with our clients also. So thank you for that one. That I wasn't aware of that form coming out.
Yep, that should come out on Tuesday, tomorrow.
All right, yeah, we'll work on getting that out to our agents. I want to jump down to contracts, considerations, and the now famous COVID-19 addendum. What we need to know about timelines and financing. What are you guys seeing and recommending?
We did implement the COVID-19 addendum. I'm sure that you've all taken a look at it, and there's two options there. One, that it can be extended for a period of time if the transaction is delayed due to inability to perform due to the COVID-19. And then the other option is to terminate the contract with the earnest money going back to the buyer if there is a delay. So it is an addendum that after talking, you know, obviously to the brokers and managers, the agents that I'm talking to out there about using in your contracts going forward. In addition to the addendum, I think agents might consider again, managing your agents, your clients' expectations about maybe extending some periods of time for close of escrow, giving yourself a little wiggle room, talking to your third-party affiliates, your home inspectors on what delays that you might expect in the contract, and try to allow for that when you're writing the contract. If you think the home inspections, it's going to take a little bit longer to do that, and then obviously stay in close connection with both your client to manage their expectations, and your affiliates to work with them for a successful close.
All right, fantastic. What's the status? I know there's been a lot of talk about remote and or online notarization options. Are we anywhere closer towards that?
I'm going to, yes, we have a statute in place. It was passed. We were the 7th state in the nation to actually get a remote online notary statute passed. It currently is not effective until July of 2020. It does have some requirements. We need some rules from the Secretary of State's office. And people do need to understand with the remote online notary, even if once we do get it passed, that there are requirements. Your clients are going to have a computer with video and audio capabilities to let that comply with those requirements. And there's a variety of companies that are doing it. Matt put that in his first notice to the governor in regards to what we were hoping hoping the governor would consider when he was considering essential services. So Matt, any update on the remote online notary statute?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. We've really made sure, understanding Governor Ducey's affinity for electronic delivery services, streamlining government, making conducting business easier than ever, and looking to new technologies. I saw this as a slam dunk. Unfortunately, the Secretary of State's office had not completely put this on the back burner, but was under the presumption that they had till July to get the administrative side of this up and running. They had the presidential primary election to get through and didn't see a pandemic coming down the pipeline. So once they got the presidential primary election done, they got communication from the governor's office. Tom Farley, our contract lobbyist, has remained in communication with the office, as have I, and making sure that they understand what kind of benefit it would bring the state, especially our realtors, to bring this online ASAP. We're looking at now potentially less than 2 weeks from being able to launch and test this. As far as fully bringing it online, I would conservatively guess by the end of the month, but I want to be respectful of the situation. I know everybody is working on 100 different things these days, that from what our elected officials and our government is trying to do during this emergency, but also understanding just the huge benefit that this could bring to the industry as far as continuity of work, practicing safe physical distancing, and all the rest. So hopefully within the coming weeks, we should be able to have this come online and be up and running. But it is not from a lack of approval for many of our elected officials. Everybody's kind of given it a thumbs up. Secretary Hobbs's office has been phenomenal. The governor's office has been very supportive of this one. It's just getting the program up and running now ahead of schedule. And so we will be communicating very loudly once we get a better idea of what to expect and when we can expect that.
Awesome. Appreciate it. All right, let's move over to the economic impact, and Michelle and Matthew, and I'll let you guys kind of just take it away. We got obviously 3 important parts, a lot of discussion, and frankly, a tremendous amount of confusion out there.
Sure. I'll start off, and there is a lot of confusion out there. Again, as I mentioned when we started, everything has gone fast and furious. So the federal government has passed the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, and under known as the CARES Act. The CARES Act included this program, and it expanded unemployment benefits for people other than your traditionally W-2 employees, and included independent contractors. But the unemployment benefits in the state are managed by the Department of Economic Security. And so Arizona is awaiting guidance from the U.S. Department of Labor on the exact eligibility and benefit calculation requirements under the Unemployment Assistance Program federal guidelines. So individuals, are encouraged to file their applications for processing as soon as additional guidance is provided for Arizona on the DES website, again, where you can get directly from AAR online. They have some answer, they have guidance, they have a phone number that you can call for assistance with your claim. But again, I'll toss this over to Matt. At my understanding at this point, as those claims are not being processed pending federal guidance.
That is correct. That's I touched base with Department of Economic Security this morning. They were hoping to have an answer for me as far as just general details and timeline last Friday. They're still awaiting additional guidance from Department of Labor. Part of the challenge is that other states have had similar kind of programs put into place because of major disasters, whether that's something similar to widespread fires or widespread flooding or tornado, where you see an entire population facing very, very hard large economic hardship. Thankfully, Arizona's been free of that until this situation. So we haven't had to look at things like extending unemployment insurance to independent contractors and self-employed individuals. So as soon as we get that guidance, any details, any timeline, I will be continuing to politely ping them almost daily, making sure I'm not forgotten. We will let you guys know. It is a challenge to understand what that calculation will look like. How do we, look at the individual's 2019 earnings and make something, some kind of equitable or fair approach to providing unemployment insurance to that individual. I can say that we do get a question about, does real estate services as an essential service prohibit me from potentially being granted or categorized protected under that pandemic unemployment assistance? And it does not. There is no preclusion for somebody collecting unemployment insurance just because they work in an industry that is classified as an essential service. We have not gotten any direction that this will have any kind of impact or changes to an individual's license. So we are aware of those concerns. I bring those kind of in my back pocket into the conversation. I'm sensitive not to end up negotiating against myself or the of our members, but it's stuff that I am cognizant of and constantly thinking. I will say that we have a very pro-business state, so I see this, every decision is going to also consider, aside from keeping the public safe, how do we get our economy to bounce back the fastest? And making sure that our realtors that are facing, extreme hardship during this time, that do explore, those benefits under the CARES Act, that they are able to get back to work, get back to business, and back to supporting our economy as soon as possible. So we will see what Department of Labor gets us. Thankfully, we've had a lot of fast responses. Like Michelle said, this Saturday, The Trump administration approved Governor Ducey's major disaster declaration, approving $1.5 billion in relief funding. So all that is going to play into our ability to bounce back.
Okay.
And I think we're in a positive position.
All right, let's talk about mortgage assistance programs. There's two perspectives here. There's some agents that are going to go through some tough times and may need to connect with their servicer, and also, in a position as being realtors, we are in positions to talk with clients, advise clients, who are facing tough times and might be facing situations where they're not going to be able to pay their mortgage. What do we need to know, and what advice can you provide us?
Sure. Yeah, there are programs that are being implemented, and because obviously with the unemployment, we're going to have people that are struggling with their mortgage payment. The Federal Housing Finance Agency, that's one that oversees Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, is actively encouraging homeowners that are impacted by the coronavirus, if they're having difficulty paying their mortgages, to reach out to the mortgage servicers absolutely as soon as possible. The Housing Finance Authority has also established a dedicated web page. Again, you can get it directly through the AAR website on Corona, with some resources that are available, and then links to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac web pages for tools to determining if your mortgage is held by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. Those of you that were in practice during the downturn, 2007, 2008, 9, know that there is a difference between if your mortgage is owned by the Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, or if it is a more conventional private loan. So I would just suggest people get familiar with those programs on the federal level. The governor is also on a state program, a Save Our Homes program, and I'll kind of toss that over to Matthew to discuss those programs. And people need to remember, so we're talking about federal programs, we're talking about state programs, and at this time they don't all mesh together. You're hearing things on the national news about programs, and then it doesn't necessarily mean that we have them implemented at the state level. So I'll throw that over to Matt.
Yeah, I think that's a very well put, Michelle. The president's response to much of this has been to allow governors to make a majority of the decisions on their own, and and curtail them to their state's needs. And so that has left decisions to be made, and it's a proper kind of pivoting where needed. Governor Ducey, after issuing his postponed evictions and foreclosures executive order, which we were at the table as much as possible and make sure that we were protecting our landlords, our property owners, making sure that there was proper burden of proof put in place for those individuals claiming one of the three protections, whether that's vulnerable population, they or another resident of the property testing positive for COVID-19, or the third bucket of facing financial hardship due to COVID-19. It was really important that we tried to advocate for as much kind of belt and suspenders or guardrails or whatever you want to call them into that proposal. Following that, the governor identified $5 million for rental assistance. We're seeing the Save Our Homes program. I think with, again, the major disaster declaration, that $1.5 billion, we'll see more state programs come forward to assist individuals from, paying their mortgage, avoiding foreclosure, working with our mortgage companies, our bankers, and getting us through this the best we can. So
on the rental eviction prevention program, is that been officially put in place, or are they still working out the details on that? And what are some of the main bullet points on that? Because I think there is a tremendous amount of confusion from renters out there, and a lot of people are just thinking, hey, this is just a free time not to pay my rent, especially with some people who can afford to pay their rent.
Yeah, based on the governor's executive order, it doesn't mean that renters can just not pay their rent, right? It doesn't relieve renters from any obligation to pay their rent, and there are specific criteria in regards to the impact of COVID-19 that would make them eligible to delay any eviction actions. So I do think that there's a lot of misconceptions. The order is in place. Obviously, they're still working out a lot of the details. They're working out details with the justices of the peace that actually handle the rental eviction actions. And what I would recommend anyone that's interested in that topic is we had Denise Holliday a couple of days ago, about a week ago, right after the order came out, did a excellent webinar. Again, you can find it on the AAR website, that discusses from a landlord's perspective who qualifies for this kind of delay and what resources and actions should be taken. So I would highly recommend anyone interested in that topic to take a look at Denise Holliday's webinar. And finally, I think I do know that there is already a form available for renters who are alleging or to document their need for delay due to COVID-19. That form is out there. If a landlord receives that form, again, as a property manager, I'm sure that you're working with, or you have a good landlord-tenant attorney that you can refer to help you through the process. But again, my advice: listen to the webinar. It's not free rent, and get with a good landlord-tenant attorney to help you through the process. If you
All
are.
right, guys, we got just a couple minutes left, and we greatly appreciate your time and willingness to hop on our webinar. But let's just talk about some of the resources that you guys highlighted for us as realtors.
Sure, a couple of resources. I have mentioned that the AAR website, we have a dedicated page to COVID-19, not only with health resources, but resources for the industry. I also wanted to mention that the National Association of Realtors just announced their members telehealth to realtors at no cost for 2 months due to the COVID-19 crisis. So I would highly recommend any members to look into that enrollment program. You have to sign up by February 15th. And then also the National Association of Realtors has a COVID hotline. So if you have questions about resources or help to navigate through some of the challenges, you can call the new member hotline. It's 1-800-8 874-6500. You can again find that on the Arizona Realtors webpage or the NAR webpage. And finally, a shout out to the state of Arizona. The Arizona State website, Arizona Together, does have excellent resources as well.
Hey guys, again, we greatly appreciate your time. And one last question: where is AAR on coming up with a vaccine for COVID-19? You guys been working hard on that?
Currently, you can find it in your liquor aisle.
I wish we could be working on it. If we could, we would be.
All right, Michelle, Matthew, thank you. Marge, again, thank you for helping us put this together. I leave everybody with the quote of the day from Michael Dell. It's through curiosity and looking at opportunities in new ways that we've always mapped out our path. Appreciate everybody joining us today. Stay indoors and sell a home.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Marge. Thank you all.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.